Welcome back to Namaste Node.js. In this video, we are going to see how web works. When I say how web works, we are going to talk about how a user makes a request to our server and how it gets back the response. We are going to see everything. What happens in between of all of it. Right? I am also going to talk about very basic small fundamentals about server, client, and there are so many jargons which you will see in this video. I am going to cover everything. This episode will lay the foundation of your foundational knowledge of building web applications. Right? When I ask a lot of my students that what is a server, they are not able to answer that. They don't know what is a server, what is a web server, what is a HTTP server. What is a proxy server? What is a domain name server? What does it mean when somebody says our server is down? What does it mean? Some people think that server is a computer. Is it a computer actually? If I say that deploy your application on a server, what does that mean? Right? So many things, we use this word server very loosely everywhere. So we are going to clear this dilemma of server in this video. A lot of you who are watching this video who are experienced developers would already know about all of it, right? But there would still be a lot of things that you would learn. And people who don't know much about all these nitty-gritty details and small things about server, client, this, that, microservice and all, you will get to understand everything in this video. Please don't skip this video. This is a very important video once again with a lot of basic fundamental knowledge. Got it? So now, before we start building projects, before we start building web application, this knowledge is will be very helpful. So that is why I'm covering this in this episode. And let's just get started. The first thing which I want to talk about in this episode is servers. What is server? What does this word server means and how do we use it? We loosely use it. Let me tell you that we have kind of like we use the word server everywhere, right? Literally for referring everything we call server, right? You might have heard of proxy server, DNS server, this server, that server, HTTP server, this server, right? So basically, in a way, this word server, right? This word server is loosely used. Sometimes it is used for hardware, right? Sometimes it is used for hardware. Sometimes it is used for software. Sometimes it is used for an application. So there are, different ways where we can use servers. And let me tell you broadly that where do we use this word server and in what context? So whenever somebody says server, then try to understand, is it referring to hardware? It can refer to this hardware also. And it can refer to the software portion also, right? Server can be both hardware and software. So if somebody says that, okay, deploy your app to a server, what does it mean? So basically, it means that, okay, it is referring to there is a hardware, right? In that hardware, in that CPU, we are running an operating system, right? We need a OS, isn't it? Nothing works on your computer if you don't have an operating system, isn't it? Operating system, this operating system can be Linux, this operating system can be Windows, this operating system can be any operating system, right? That we use. Now, when we say we are deploying our app on a server, that means that we are deploying an application on a server, right? We are deploying an application. We are basically kind of like running our application on that operating system, right? And now that application does something. That application can serve the clients who wants to connect to our server. See, this server will have a lot of file, will have a lot of data, will have a lot of memory, right? To access this memory from outside world, we need a way to connect, right? To make a connection, we need an application. Okay, so let me just explain you once again. Right? Let me explain you once again. How does this hardware side of server and software side of server are basically working together? Okay, so we have this hardware. You understood the hardware, right? You have a machine, you have a CPU, you have your RAM, ROM, storage and everything. Inside that storage, you can have some files, you can have some data, you can have some images, you can have a lot of things, right? That is inside that computer, small little computer. But suppose if you want the outside world to connect with that computer, and can access those files, those data and everything. How do we do it? Right? If we want external people to come over here and can request things from this server, we need to run an application over here. We need to run an application which can handle those requests. Okay. So whatever user are trying to say, so these arrows can be, these are the requests. So a lot of users are coming to our server and they are sending us a request, right? Now to handle that request, we need an application, right? We need an application which will listen to all these requests and will send the data accordingly, whatever the user is requesting, right? So for that, we need an application which is running on an operating system, isn't it? So see, in your computer, nothing will work if you don't have an operating system, right? And in your operating system, you can install a lot of programs, you can run a lot of code and everything, isn't it? So similarly, there is a hardware. Over that, there is an application deployed, right? So they both work together. So sometimes we refer to this application which is deployed on over here in this hardware to as server, and sometimes we refer to this hardware machine as a server, right? When I say deploy to an server, right? Or basically sometimes you say that, okay, we have taken our servers, we have our servers on AWS. What does it mean? So AWS is managing this hardware and AWS is giving you that hardware resource and you have deployed your application on that server, right? So let me take a brief moment to explain what is AWS. So you might have heard of AWS, right? So AWS basically, see, first of all, okay, let's go one more level deep. Suppose if this is a computer, right? This is also a computer, right? Computer or hardware. And I am also using a hardware, a computer where we run our code in the Node.js program and everything that we run. It is also a computer. How our computer is different than their computer, right? That is also a computer. AWS is also having computers. So let me tell you that on a ground level, there is no difference. On a ground level, there is no difference. They also have a CPU, which is running some operating system, maybe a Linux or a Windows. I also have a CPU where I am also running some Windows, Linux or Mac OS or whatever. So they both at the ground level are same computers, hardwares, right? They are running some operations. The only difference, then why do we use AWS? And before answering that, can we use our computer as a server? Yes, why not? We can use our computer as a server as well. We don't need AWS. We don't need, you might have seen that, okay, we need hosting, this, that, so many things. We don't need. We can make our laptop, our computers as server also. We can use it. But let me tell you the limitations. When you take a server from AWS, we generally, in technical terms, we call this as EC2 instance, right? Whenever you hear the word EC2 instance in AWS, that means you have taken a server. And while you are watching this video on namastedev.com, right? So this namastedev.com is also hosted on an AWS server, right? Basically an EC2 instance. Okay. What is an EC2 instance? There must be a CPU, there must be a computer which is somewhere on the internet there, which is managed by AWS, and I have taken or I have hired that resource for myself and I have deployed our website on that server. Okay, so AWS is managing the hardware and software part of everything, right? Whenever you do namastedev.com, it hits the computers of AWS. Got it? This is what it means to be. But why cannot I use my own laptop, right? If I can use my own laptop, then why I am not using it? Let me tell you why. First of all, my laptop has a limited RAM, right? Limited RAM, limited storage, right? My laptop has a limited RAM, limited storage, isn't it? And also on AWS also has a limited RAM and limited storage. But if I want to scale my systems, I can just make some button clicks and I can increase the memory of that AWS instance. We call this as instance, okay? So suppose if I want to increase the hard disk space of my laptop, can I do it? I cannot do it very easily. I would have to go to the market, buy a hard disk, put it in and do all that, right? So suppose if I have to increase the storage, if I have to increase the memory, if I have to increase the processing power, I will have to do manual efforts over here. The second thing, even that I can do. But then the second thing, AWS servers are always up and running. What does it mean? They are always connected to the internet and with a 24/7 no power cut. 24/7 no power cut. They have huge power backups. Can I maintain it? Can I maintain it on my system? Right? Can I have a high speed internet which never goes down? Can I have a system? Can I have electricity 24/7 that it never goes down? That means my laptop is never shutting down. If I can do that, I can host my namastedev.com on this my laptop. Other problem with our computers and AWS computers is that we have a local internet connections which we have taken, right? If you are in India, you might be using Jio Fiber or Airtel or something like that, right? Some ISP providers, right? Some internet providers, right? Internet service provider. Now, when we use these networks, they don't guarantee you an IP, right? What do you mean by IP? Basically, see, there is an address of everything, right? Whenever you are on the internet, this computer has an address, right? IP address. Basically, this network has an IP address where I am connected to. Similarly, this IP address is not dedicated, right? Basically, it's not reserved for your computer. Your IP can change. But over there, when we take a machine on AWS computers, my IP remains the same. It's a dedicated IP. And there are a lot more things, right? You don't have to take care of power outage and all of this. So to remove all this stress, to remove all this headache, we offload everything to AWS servers. So whenever somebody says that, okay, I have taken a AWS server or a instance, AWS instance, that means I have taken a computer, right? And AWS has a big data center. You can think of a data center as a big room where you have so many computers. You might have seen data centers, right? If you don't, just Google data center and you will get the photos, actual photos. There are so many high-speed computers, right? With high-speed internet connections, with high memory and never going down, no power outage, and they manage it very well. Suppose even if they have a power outage, they have backups, right? And it is not in one region. There are multiple regions. Some computers would be there in Mumbai. Some computer would be there in different parts of the world also. Okay. So if I take an example, so we have hired a server from AWS and we have our servers, right? Basically what Namaste Dev is using, we have our servers in Mumbai location of AWS. Got it? This is a server. And now, right, you will also hear that, okay, we are making a connection request. We are creating a server using Node, right? So this was the hardware part, what I talked about. Now, if I come to software part, you might have heard of that we are using Node to create a web server. What does it mean by that? We are creating a HTTP server using Node, right? You will hear this word. I am creating a HTTP server using Node. What does it mean? So basically that means that I am creating an application, that server application, which handles the user request. So suppose if a user is requesting some resources, right? So that application is also called server sometimes. So you have to understand that in which context people are talking about servers, and that is when you would understand that what server they are referring to. Is it the hardware or the software portion? Got it? I think I have taken a lot of time to explain you this, but let's go ahead and explore more about a client server architecture and everything. Then you would understand basically what I'm talking about and where and when we can use this word server carefully. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about more about client server architecture. So basically, now we have seen that, okay, suppose this is a client. You might have heard of client server architecture a lot, right? But let me explain you briefly and quickly, right? A lot of people would know also, I guess. But then who don't know, please listen to it very, very carefully. So see, we have a client. What does a client means? So generally a client is referred to as someone who is accessing your server, right? Basically this is the server. Somebody who is trying to access, so they see this server has some files, this server can have some HTML files, this server can have some photos, this server can have some documents, and a lot of other things, right? This server can has. Now, suppose this user who is sitting over here and he has his computer, on that computer he has a browser, and he wants to request some data. Suppose he wants to access the file on this server. How can it do that? Right? So basically, this user wants to access this file. How can it do that? Right? Can access the file. So what happens is this client has to open a socket connection. This is a socket connection, and this socket, we generally, see, now this socket word also is used in a lot of times. Don't confuse this with WebSocket that you know, okay? Don't confuse that with WebSocket. I will talk about that later on. But think of this socket as an open connection. So basically, see, every client, so suppose if I am accessing some website, right? If I am writing www.namastedev.com, right? So I'm making an API call. Every client has an IP address. Every server have an IP address. So ideally, see, client or server, both are some computers running their operating systems, right? But we call this as client because it is requesting some data. Okay, so this is client, this is using a browser. Generally, you can call this client as a browser also, right? Suppose this is a browser. Now we have a server. Now, if I want to access this file, so I will open a socket connection. And then when I open a socket connection or when I send a request over here, right? So somebody should be there to listen to it, right? Somebody should be listening to those incoming requests. Somebody should be listening to those incoming requests, isn't it? That application, let me call this as application, okay? This application over here is known as server sometimes. So basically, client is requesting some data from the server. That means that this client is basically making a request, and this application is basically listening to that request and accordingly giving the files. So suppose if the user is requesting an image, so this app listens, okay, this user is requesting an image, so it will go to the image, fetch the image and give it back to the client. Got it? So this is the client server architecture. Now over here, when I say client is connecting to the server, think about it that there is an application which is handling those incoming requests. There can be multiple clients also, right? Similarly, there can be multiple clients, right? There can be multiple clients, and multiple clients, each and every client will make a socket connection and will get the data, right? So how things will work, let me just tell you once again. When the client will request something, it makes a socket connection. The server fetches the data, gives it back, and then this socket connection is closed. Now suppose if client has to make another request, so it makes another socket connection. Once again, it sends the data, it closes. It makes another request, sends the data, closes, right? So if there are so many users who are sitting on your website making a lot of API calls or maybe requesting a lot of pages, that means they are opening the socket, getting the data, close, right? They close the socket and they are seeing the web page on their website, right? Again, making a socket connection, getting the data, closing the socket connection. So this socket keeps on opening and closing, and all of this requests are known as incoming request to the server. Got it? Now this is how things work. Now I know this can be a little, there are a lot of jargons associated with it. So I want to clarify a lot of jargons also as we move ahead in this video. Now, when this socket connection is made, it uses a TCP/IP protocol. Okay, when the data is sent, it is sent using TCP/IP protocol. What is TCP? Transmission Control Protocol. Okay, I'm not going into the detail of this protocol. It's very complex in itself, but we call this as TCP/IP protocol. I will explain you in short detail, right? Very small recap of what is TCP/IP protocol. Otherwise, this will become a networking class in your computer science engineering, right, subject. networking subject, basically computer networks, but I'm not going into details. But what I'm trying to say, it makes a TCP IP connection, right? TCP IP. Why I'm telling you all this? Because it's kind of like a revision and a lot of people don't know about it. They will clear everything in their head. Okay. Now what is IP? IP means internet protocol, right? We have an IP address for each of the computer, right? Where if first of all, do you know that why we call it as a web? Might have heard, right? Now I am going off topic, but let me explain you why it is called as web. See, suppose if there are so many people, right? These are all different people who have their different computers. And all these computers are connected to the internet, okay? Connected to internet. So if all of them are connected to the internet, every computer will have an IP address. Basically a way to locate and specify that computer. It's like an address for each of them. Now, because all of them are on internet, so with the IP, with a unique IP, everybody will have a unique IP. With that IP, they can connect to any other IP. The other person can connect to any other IP, and everybody can connect to anyone. Right? Anyone can connect to anyone. That is why it is known as web. That is why it is known as web. Do you see? Anyone can connect to anyone via internet. Just because of internet, you might have heard that, okay, with internet, the world is connected, right? Why? This is what is known as web. Okay? Internet. Because we have internet, I can connect to any computer in the world who is also connected to that internet. This is known as web. Now, in that web bigger picture, we are just talking about one server, one computer and the other computer. Okay? Now you got the context. Let's move ahead. And this is done by using TCP IP protocol. Now what is a protocol? Now a lot of people, let me explain you in 2 lines what is a protocol. Wherever you hear the word protocol, that means that it is some set of rules which are defined between computers to connect. Suppose if one computer wants to talk to other computer, so they talk a similar language. That is known as computer protocol. Okay, you think about it. Suppose if I speak Hindi, okay, मैं हिंदी बोल लेता हूँ, but हिंदी उसी को समझ में आएगी जिसको हिंदी आती हो, right? That means I can speak Hindi, but Hindi the person, if you don't understand Hindi, then how would you communicate with me, right? So we have come to a common ground. Some common rules that, okay, I will speak in English. You also speak in English and understand English. And this whole series will continue in English, right? We have agreed. 2 people, my native language is Hindi. Your native language can be Kannada, Urdu, Malayali, whatsoever language, right? Spanish, French, right? Whatever language you have. So, but we have agreed that, okay, we will talk in English. That is when the communication will happen. Similarly, these protocols are kind of like rules, right? These are set of rules which the computers have decided that, okay, we will communicate using these rules. If you don't communicate using these rules, no connection, right? You cannot talk to each other. So these TCP IP are rules. We'll talk about it later on, but we'll talk more about it later on. But this is what I wanted to understand with this diagram. Now, let me tell you that, okay, on this server, you might have heard of an HTTP server. You might have heard of FTP server. You might have heard of SMTP server. What are these things, right? So when a client makes a socket connection to a server, now there are different protocols, or basically, there are different rules which the server will send their response in. Okay, so there are certain rules. So let me take an example. These rules are known as HTTP, FTP, SMTP, and there are more, right? So what does HTTP means? This is known as Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So basically, in which format things will be sent to the client. FTP means File Transfer Protocol. FTP means File Transfer Protocol. So suppose if we have a server that just serves files, So you use a FTP, file transfer protocol, to send those files. Suppose if you have this SMTP is simple mail transfer protocol. So basically, see, when you are sending a file, when you are sending a mail, right? Suppose if you are sending an email, so there is a specific format you need the data in, right? Suppose if you are requesting, you are requesting an HTML document. So there is a format how these two communicate. So basically think of these as different languages. So suppose this client and server has agreed to talk in terms of mail, right? So this language will be used. Suppose if the client and server wants to talk in some other language, these are different languages. You can think about these two computer understand these type of languages. So now, these are the rules and protocols how data is sent. So whenever we talk about web server, so generally when we talk about Node, right? So we talk about web servers. And when we talk about web servers, specifically we talk about HTTP server, right? What does it mean by HTTP server? So HTTP server means hypertext transfer protocol. Now, this sounds very complex, but it isn't. Suppose if you want to send simple text, suppose if you want to send some HTML, suppose if you want to send some JSON data, suppose if you want to send basic data, communication between two servers, that is done using an HTTP server, right? And now this HTTP, you can assume that HTTP is kind of like a language or rules that how the client will talk to this server. There can be different languages, but generally when we create a server using Node, we are creating an HTTP server. We can create a SMTP, FTP, other servers also. But generally, whenever we are creating a web application, we are creating a web server, and this web server basically is kind of like an HTTP server. You will see in this video, towards the end, I will create an actual server and show it to you using Node. Okay? Don't you worry about it. It's very easy. But I'm just telling you that what actually server means. Now, whenever client will request anything, this server will handle it. Who will handle it? This server. So basically, client says that, okay, I need a file. So this server will say that, okay, this server basically is just waiting for incoming request. There is no other job of server. The server is just waiting for these incoming requests. Whenever request comes, whatever the request is, accordingly, it modifies the response and give it back. This is the job of server. Get the request, process, do some processing, give it back. And always active and waiting for incoming requests. Okay? Waiting for socket connections. Got it? This is what the lingo is. Why I am repeating all this again and again? Because this is the lingo, that incoming request, server is listening, right? So all these things, a lot of these words are used across blogs, across the industry, across the tutorials that you will see. Even I, going forward in this series, will be using a lot of words. So I want you to be familiar with the vocabulary. Otherwise, you won't understand. That's why. Okay. So we create an HTTP server that listens to the incoming request. Okay. The word listen will come very often. We create an HTTP request. You might have seen in the browser you make HTTPS or HTTP request, right? You might have seen in the browser we write HTTP, HTTPS, isn't it? You might have seen this. Have you seen this? So whenever you are requesting something on HTTP, that means we are using an HTTP protocol. Basically, this is kind of like a language that we are using to communicate with some server on the internet. In your browser, when you go on a browser and you request for a URL, what happens? You are writing HTTP, HTTPS over there. That means you are calling an HTTP server. Okay? You are requesting. That is the language that you are using to communicate. Awesome. Okay. So this is what basically it means. Now let us go ahead. I think I have covered things over here. Now let's go ahead and let me tell you. Now when you make a server request, how the data is sent? Data is not sent directly in one go. Suppose if the client is requesting a file, it does not takes and take the whole file and transfer it. No, it never happens like this. It happens in chunks, and these smaller things are known as packets. Right? These smaller, see, we are using the language HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, basically some set of rules. But this HTTP is the type of data, type of language. But whenever we are sending the data, we are sending it in small chunks. We are sending it in small packets. These packets, we refer to the word as packets. Remember this. In your computer networks, in networking class, you might have heard the word packets. This is what it means. Right? The client, I am requesting. So now you would say, Akshay, that means that, okay, if I am making an API call, if I am requesting a HTML document, does it also comes in smaller chunks? Because I see the website loads very fast, right? I type google.com, hit enter, and the web page loads. But let me tell you, my dear friends, the data that came onto your website, the data that came onto the browser came in chunks, right? Came in chunks, small pieces. It does not come directly. It comes in small pieces. It is kind of like a stream of data which flows, right? Stream of chunks. Okay. Now, maybe later on, there is a concept of stream and buffers in Node, right? Stream and buffers. Okay. Stream and buffer. So, buffer means, so see, stream means a connection. Buffer means sending data into smaller pieces, chunks, right? So, it's tough to explain you, but now let me try to explain you in some other words, right? So, according to the TCP/IP protocol, TCP/IP protocol says, now you might be confused between TCP/IP protocol and this HTTP and all these things, right? HTTP, FTP, SMTP. Now let me tell you that the language that client and server will speak is defined by HTTP or FMTP, FTP or SMTP, right? That is languages. TCP/IP protocol is the protocol of sending the data over an IP, right? When two IPs communicate, that is why it is known as TCP/IP protocol. When one IP and two IP are requesting data, when the data is being transferred, right? So it is sent in packets. This is controlled by TCP/IP, right? Transmission Control Protocol. The data transmission is controlled by it, and it is done in packets. This is what is recap. Now, inside the Node.js, there might be, so suppose this is Node.js running over here. So we have to write some code to send this data, right? So inside Node.js, there is a concept of stream and buffers, right? If you have time, go Google it and read about it more. If I get time, I can also make a video on it, but it will go very deep, right? I mean, there is a concept of stream, buffer, event emitter, event listener, and a lot of things. Right? I might make a video on it, maybe, but then it's very internal, right? It's very internal to Node. It's not something that we use on a daily basis, right? It's abstracted from us. It's inside the depth and code of Node.js, right? If you'll see and go read the code of Node.js, you will see that, okay, when you send a data, we will write just one line and data will be sent, right? Whatever I am explaining to you, this is just an internal architecture. We will just write few lines, right? We can do all of this in just 2-3 lines. Everything of this will happen behind the scenes. Okay, so you don't have to worry much about it, but I'm just telling you, suppose if you go to some blogs on the internet, read some articles, and you would find the word streams, buffer, or packets, or TCP/IP, or HTTP server, you don't get confused over what I'm talking about or what those blogs and articles are talking about. Okay, so that is why I'm giving you all this knowledge. So now let's move ahead. We understood TCP/IP protocol sends data in packets. There is an HTTP server who is listening to the incoming request, and there is a socket connection which is being made between the client and the server. Cool. Let's go ahead. Now, let me tell you, you might think that, okay, Akshay, we don't generally communicate with using IPs, right? We don't generally communicate using IPs. We communicate using domain name, right? We generally, whenever we make an request, we make the request to www.namastedev.com. When you have come over here and you are watching this video, you are watching it on namastedev.com, or you are watching some video on youtube.com. You are not talking to an IP. So, at the end of the day, everything maps to an IP. Right? At the end of the day, everything maps to an IP. Got it? So, you can consider this as, see, one address is verbal address. So, suppose if I say that, okay, I live in Dehradun, right? I live in this and this street, this and this lane, this is this, my house number is this is the lane, this is the place, this is the city, this is the state. This is my verbal address, right? Which you understand, I understand. But one more address is your geolocation, right? Kind of like a coordinates, right? Kind of like latitude and longitude coordinates. So think of this IP as your latitude and longitude coordinates, and this is as your verbal address. So basically, for us humans, see, computers can understand IP very well, remember IPs very well. But we as humans don't understand these IPs all, right? We will be very confused. Just like we are confused with phone numbers, right? We don't remember phone numbers anyways. We have to save it with the name of somebody else, isn't it? Similarly, we basically save these. So we basically request the URL www.namastedev.com. But before making an API call to namastedev.com, internally, when you are requesting a website from the browser, it makes a call to DNS server. DNS server. What is now DNS server? DNS server means domain name servers. So basically, kind of like a mapping between IP and your domain name. So this is your domain name. This is known as a domain name. You purchase a domain name, right? Just like we have purchased namastedev.com, and we also have a IP, right? So we have this domain name, a label, right? This label. So DNS server manages the mapping between this domain name and IP. Now, there is a lot more complicated things happen inside this DNS server. I'm not talking about it, right? Because see, this DNS server also reads this request one by one. First of all, it will read, okay, it is www. Oh my God, this is www. That means World Wide Web. Then it will request, okay, this is Namaste Dev. Okay, Namaste Dev. And then it will parse, okay, it is .com. See, namastedev.in can be very different. Namastedev.co.in can be very different. Namastedev.uk can be very different. Namastedev.io can be very different. So similarly, it reads it one by one and then resolves the IP. It gives the IP mapping. Now, when we have get the IP, then we request to this IP. Okay. So whenever you are in your browser, you are typing www.namastedev.com. Behind the scenes, there is a call which is being made to DNS server. That DNS server is giving back the IP. Now that IP call is made. Internally, behind the scenes, everything is done. Okay. You don't get to know. You as the user of a website does not know anything behind the scenes what happens. Right. But all this is happening, my dear friends. When you request the IP, it goes to our server, namastedev.com server. There is an HTTP server who is handling your request. That HTTP server now gets the video and gives back the video. And that video that you are seeing it's coming in chunks. It's not coming in one go. It is coming in chunks. Got it? So, and there is a stream of data which is being transferred. In the stream, there are buffers. And that is why you might have heard of the word buffering. Have you heard video is buffering? That is what it means. Got it? Okay, now, I mean, I can take a whole 5, 6, 7 hour session on this, right? I can talk about it whole day, but let me just restrict myself a little so that I am giving you brief idea about what I am talking and then move on. Let's move on to another thing. Now, okay, so now in this server, there can be multiple applications running, right? So let me give an example to you, right? So in this server, I can create an HTTP server, okay? Suppose if I create over here an HTTP server, right? So I want to ask you a question. Can I create multiple servers? Now the question is, can I create multiple servers? Can I create multiple servers? Multiple HTTP servers. Now why I am using the word HTTP servers? Because see, one server can be your hardware also. When I say I am creating multiple servers, that does not mean I am creating new hardwares, okay? Now you understood, right? I am talking in a context. I am creating a HTTP server. That means I am creating a application. Can I create multiple application? Can I create multiple application on the same server? This is the question. Tell me, can I create multiple servers? Just like we have this one server over here, right? This server is handling the request which the users are sending. Can I create multiple servers? Can there be multiple servers? Let me tell you the answer. The answer is yes. You can create as many servers as you want. As many servers. What does that mean? Let me tell you, right? So over here, let me remove it. So you said that, okay, can I create multiple HTTP servers? Yes, you can create one HTTP server. HTTP server. You can create another HTTP server also. Now, suppose if the user is requesting something. Suppose if the users are requesting something. How do we get to know that which server should it go to? Which basically application at the end of the day? Which application? So when I say creating a node HTTP server, that means that I am creating two different node applications. Two different node applications are running. Two different node HTTP servers are running. Okay. So how do we know that we have to go to this HTTP server or this HTTP server? So that is defined by port. Now what is a port? Port is a number. 4-digit number, right? So we can say that, okay, this HTTP server uses the port, let's say 1010. Okay, I'm just taking a random 4-digit code. Now this HTTP server uses the port 3000. Port 3000. So suppose if I say that, okay, I am requesting this IP, the server's IP is this, right? I am requesting 102.209.1.3 and then colon. You might have seen if we write colon over here, and if I say 3000. So this IP plus port will tell me that I am referring to this HTTP server. So, and what does it mean at the end of the day? At the end of the day, there is a computer, on that there is an operating system. On that operating system, I have multiple applications running in. There can be one application, there can be another application, there can be multiple applications, there can be multiple node HTTP servers also running at the same time. There can be multiple other applications also running. So suppose there is a mail application running, there is a file application running. Got it? There can be multiple small servers inside the whole computer. So that is also called server. That is why I am saying this whole big server, or we call it as server, or let me call it as a computer. This computer, right, can have multiple internal servers: mail server, file server, HTTP server, database server. And according to the port, it decides where to go, which place to go. Got it? So port is attached to one server. We can have multiple node applications running on the same server. I can run multiple Node.js code together over here, multiple HTTP servers, together over here. But I would need a different port number. Now, why this port number is needed? Port number is needed so that other people can connect to your application. Got it? So other people can connect to that application, and one application, this one HTTP server is assigned one port. Okay, is assigned one port. Now if you can ask me that, okay, Akshay, I'm not going into much details but telling you the basics. Can I use any 4-digit number? No. So not just 4-digit. Basically, there is a port 80 also, right? Just 80. It's not restricted to 4-digit or something, but generally we use port in 4 digits, right? And generally we use this port 3000. If you make a React application, if you have worked on a React application, then it generally uses 3000 port. In Node.js application also they use 3000 port. But you can use 3000, you can use 1001, 1007. It's up to you what you want to use. There are some port numbers which are reserved for the system, so you cannot use that. Some port number like 80. I'm not sure if you can override that, but you cannot use this 80 port number. Okay, so multiple port number, I am not also an expert over here, but go read about it if you are curious about it. Cool. So let's move ahead. So I told you already. So basically, the domain name maps to an IP. So suppose your domain name is namastedev.com. Namastedev.com. It gives you an IP address. So it is associating to an IP address. Now, when you get the IP and the port together, it tells you which application to go to. And if you give it a path, then it is associated to an API. So let me tell you what I am talking about. Okay. So suppose if you request namastedev.com. Namastedev.com. Okay. So this namastedev.com is a domain name. It maps to an IP. Let's call this as IP as 123.4.5.6. Okay. This is an IP address. Now IP plus port. So suppose if I have a port of 3000 over here, this 3000 port will tell me that, okay, I am referring to my Node.js application. Node.js, not Node.js application. I'm just saying Node.js application, but you can call this as an HTTP server. I would call it as HTTP server, right? HTTP server. Now, Node.js is not the only way to create an HTTP server. There are multiple ways you can create this HTTP server using multiple languages. Okay. So that is why I'm not writing Node.js server otherwise. But you can assume that, okay, this HTTP server is created by Node. But you can also create a server using Python, right? You might have heard of Django framework and all that stuff, right? You can do that using other languages also. Okay, so now you create an HTTP server. It is on the port 3000. Now suppose if I give it, right? Now suppose if I give it some path. So what is the path? So if I say that, okay, this path is slash. Okay, so basically see, namastedev.com, you might have heard of namastedev.com, and I say slash, and I say slash API. So this slash API maps to this application. Okay. I'm just telling you, and maps to this application, right? This is an HTTP server. Now, if I say API slash, I say get user info. This is my path. This path will decide that inside my server, what code will run. Let me explain you once again. Okay. So whenever there is a domain name namastedev.com, it has an IP. Now we need to identify the port also, right? So this port slash API is associated with 3000. Maybe if you don't put any port, right, there can be a default also, right? Suppose if you say slash, not any API or something, slash happy, right? Right? So this slash is referring to another port. You can do that too, right? Basically what I'm trying to say is there can be a default port also. So, okay. So let me talk about let me just try to explain you. It's very confusing and it's very tough for me also to explain, but let me just try to explain you what I'm saying. Suppose if you do namastedev.com slash, right? You are just referring to namastedev.com slash. Now suppose if you are referring to namastedev.com slash API slash anything, right? So you can write logic to map this namastedev.com slash API to port 3000, right? So if in the URL you find slash API, you will refer to 3000. If suppose you are not putting anything, you are referring to just the path, then you can map this to some other port, right? You can map it to other ports also. I will show it to you in a while, don't you worry, right? Don't you worry about it. I will show it to you all these demos. But assume that, okay, you map, okay, so let me give an example also, okay? I have a good example for you. So I have a good example, okay? I have a good example. Suppose in your server, you have a React application. What do you mean by React application? A front-end application which gives you back the HTML and the website, right? There is a Node application, right? So I want that, okay, if somebody requests namastedev.com, so it should go to my React application, right? And this React application can be running on 3000 port number. Now, but I want whenever someone requests namastedev.com slash API slash anything, I want the user to go to port number 3001. Got it? So basically this whole namastedev.com slash API, this full URL is mapped to this port. Over here, namastedev.com slash is mapped to this port. So basically whenever there is slash and there is no API, it will go to React. If there is an API, it will go to Node. So I can define all of it. And in this whole series, when you will move ahead, I will show you how we can do that practically in your systems. You might have heard that, okay, behind the scenes, there are so many other different applications running, but everything is running on namastedev.com only. The same domain name, because the domain name is just referring to this, right? Behind the scenes, there can be multiple other servers and everything managed, right? It's amazing thing, right? And there is a concept of load balancer and a lot of things. I'm not going into all that details, but it comes into the system design part of it. So I'm not covering system design. I'm just covering Node, but still I wanted to give you some more information about all of it. Now, enough of theory. Let's go back. Now, we have seen that, okay, we have this computer, we have this server. Sometimes we run, let me just show it to you previous diagram first of all. Sometimes we can run our front end, our back end, our email, our file, our database on the same computer, right? When I will be building this, when I will be building the project, right? So I will be building the front end also in my computer. I will be building the back end also in my computer. My database is also in this computer. I have everything on my same computer, on the same system. You can do it too. In your server, you can do it too. But in a lot of cases, when there is a big company, so what happens is they don't deploy all their application onto a single server. When I'm talking about server now, I'm talking about one computer. They don't deploy everything onto a single server, single computer, right? They keep their database onto some other server, right? You can call this as a DB server, right? Database server. They keep that, they can have a different file server, right? Or maybe a server where you just have files. That's it. One computer just have dump of files. That's it, right? There is one computer which has just dump of images. Or maybe there is a CDN also, right? Now, I'm not going into their detail because it's kind of like a front-end thing. But there is a server which is only efficient for handling images. Think about it like that, right? So it can be a different server altogether. Now, when a client is requesting, making a socket connection, requesting some data, sometimes the server will get the data from within and responds back, right? Sometimes this server, this application don't have to go anywhere, just gets the data from its server and responds back. But sometimes, according to the client's request, it can also make an API call, or it can also make a connection with some other server. Suppose it makes a connection to the other server, a DB server, gets the data from the database and sends it back to the client. Got it? So this is also an architecture portion. So this server can talk to other servers as well. Because it's all web, right? I told you, right? Multiple computers can talk to each other. Isn't it? Through protocols and rules, right? Which are defined by the web. Got it? So this is how things work. Now, let me tell you the example of Namaste Dev server. When you go to namastedev.com, it is served by a server which we have got from AWS, right? The website that you see, that you are visiting this website, browsing this course on namastedev.com website, this is served by a server. The front end is on the same server. The Node.js application, the API that are getting the data is also on the same server. But our database is on some other server. Okay. We have not kept our database and our Node.js application on the same server. No. We have our front-end application and our back-end application on the same server. The namastedev.com that you browse and the namastedev.com/API that you host is coming from one server. Our database is on another server. Now this database server is very efficient. It takes the backup of database. We basically take the backup of database regularly, right? This database server is very powerful and is managing just the database. It's very fast, right? If we will keep everything, if I keep the database, front end, back end, everything on same server, then it becomes a problem, right? Now I'm not going into details of what problem and all of that, but we have not kept it, right? The architecture of Namaste Dev, see, I am giving you the real world examples, right? This is what is happening when you are browsing the website, right? When you are browsing this videos course, Namaste Node.js course. In this namastedev.com, our front end and back end are running on the same server, on the same machine. Now our database is on some other server, right? It is efficient. Now, when you request a video, these videos are coming from some other server internally, and then it comes to you. You don't get to know. These videos are not there on our server. We have not kept these videos on our server. And the images that are coming to you, that is not on our server. These images are hosted on some other server. So that is why I wanted to tell you the whole diagram, that in a way, everything works behind the scenes in a very different, complicated fashion. And as we grow ahead in major companies, even the front end and back end that we have kept on the same server are kept in different server also. And we also in future will keep our back end and front end in some different other servers, right? So if you are requesting for front end, it will just hit the one server, and internally it will hit the other server for keeping the data dynamic. There are different calls that you have to take as a tech architect, right? But I just wanted to show you that, okay, these servers can connect to multiple different servers as well, right? That's how these computers are connected. And at the end of the day, all of these are computers, right? All of these are running some operating system, and all of these have some applications running on them. Okay, all of them are connected to the internet. That is why they are able to talk it. All of them have IPs. All of them are following protocols. Got it? So this is how beautiful everything is. Oh my God, such a big class, right? So let's move ahead. Now let me talk about, so I have talked a lot about socket connection, right? Over here, this client creates a socket connection. Now, you might have heard of recently WebSockets also, right? Make a WebSocket connection. There is a socket.io library. What is a WebSocket, right? So see, now let me tell you, there are multiple users who can come in to your server and request some data, right? Request some data, request some URL, request some files, request some HTML, request some JSON, whatever, right? Now, when a request in general case, right? Whenever you load some website or something, so suppose if you are loading namastedev.com, let me tell you, give you an example. When you load namastedev.com, suppose this user came in, you are this user. You request namastedev.com, our server will make a socket connection. It will make a socket connection, gets back the response of namastedev.com, right? Gets back the request of namastedev.com. That namastedev.com website HTML will be rendered onto your browser. So suppose the user you are seeing on the website, right? That browser came in and this socket is closed. You are done with your job. This socket is opened, the data is sent, the socket is closed. Now suppose after some time you went to some other episode of the series, right? If you go to some other page, now you have to make another request to the server. Now suppose if you go to some other page, suppose if you go to blog, right? So now you again open a socket, you get the data back, you close the socket. So what happens is, suppose so many people are coming, they are opening a socket, getting the data back, closing the socket. Opening the socket, getting the data back, closing the socket. And it is happening parallelly. A lot of requests are coming in. And all this is being handled by our HTTP server. Got it? WebSocket is a new concept, right? It has a confusing name. But WebSocket is a socket that means that, okay, if the user has made a connection, now you have made a connection and this connection stays for a longer time. It just stays over there. And it is not closing actually automatically. Right? So, and till the connection is closed, right? Till the connection is made, right? If the connection is made, this connection is not closed between the client and the server, right? Until there are ways to close it, right? But it holds over there, right? It holds over there till the whole data. And now a client can send the data, a server can send the data back, and there can be a two-way communication that can happen between this socket. It is more persistent socket, right? Which is opened for a long time. But in general case, in general websites that you visit, we are talking about the basic socket, right? The socket that you see over here is a basic socket. If you are making a request, it opens a socket, gets the data, closes the socket. Because see, opening a web socket consumes a lot of resources also, right? And the server also has a capacity. See, it is like a blocking socket. Now suppose if you created a web socket over here, so there can be a limit on number of socket connections that a server can make. You cannot just keep making socket connection and you can leave them open, right? Suppose if there are 4 users, 4 socket connections are open, right? 4 web sockets are open. So it is a tough job for our computers also. If it is a tough job for our server. But suppose if a user came in, it gets the data back, closes the socket. So now it can open multiple socket together. Got it? So this is what is the difference between WebSocket that you hear WebSockets and the socket, right? So now there are different use cases and all of it, right? I'm not covering over here right now when to use WebSocket and all that stuff. But generally when you make API calls, you are just talking about this basic socket, right? Okay. Now let me just revise everything. Whatever I told you in this video, I have broken it down into smaller pieces and told you, right? I think it has been around 1 hour already, but I wanted to explain you all of this, and then we will create a server. Today in this video itself, I will create a HTTP server from code and I will show you how everything is working, right? Okay. So what happens is, suppose if the client makes a request to namastedev.com, a DNS is resolved and IP is come. Now this socket connection is established. Now we have a HTTP server over here, which is sending the data using HTTP protocol. Basically HTTP protocol, we'll talk about it later, right? What is an HTTP request? What are the protocol? What are the method and all that stuff? Don't worry. But we are also on a TCP protocol, so the transmission control protocol, which means that the data will be sent in packets, in small chunks, not all together. And while sending the response, the server might also talk to other servers which are connected over the internet. Got it? So you would have understood this whole diagram. Got it? This is how the web works. Now this is a very brief small things. If you go into internals, there is a lot more complex things over here. There's a lot more complex things in DNS. There are a lot more complex things which is going on inside a server. But I wanted to tell you that, okay, when you are creating a HTTP server in Node.js, right? So that means you are creating this server, right? This server, okay? You can, not the computer, this server. Got it? This server. Now, whenever you are making whenever you have your incoming request, so this server, the software, the application, at the application level will handle all those requests. It will take those requests and it will give the data back. This is what is server, HTTP server. So ever I use the word HTTP or server, we have created a server using Node.js. That means that I am creating this HTTPS server, not the machine. So this server basically is kind of like a machine, right? So that's it. Cool. So I have explained you, I think, if you give me $1 for every time I have used the word server in this video, then I would be a millionaire, isn't it? Okay. So let's go back and let's go back to our code and let me just create a server for you. Now, whatever I have told you over here, right? This all looks very complicated. But let me just create a server and show it to you over here, right? That listens to the incoming requests. Okay? This word listen is very important, right? Because you will hear this word a lot, right? So, okay. Cool. So let's create a server. So how do you create a server? Node.js is very beautiful, my dear friends. Have you fallen in love with Node.js or not? Not yet. You will fall in love. Don't worry. Keep watching these videos. Okay. So Node.js has a module. That module is known as HTTP. Okay. So I told you, right? Node.js has some modules, right? Important modules. Okay. Node.js modules. And there is a HTTP module. Let me directly go to HTTP module. Okay. Let's go to the official Node documentation. If you'll go over here, you will find on the left hand side, you will have a HTTP. Where is HTTP? There must be some. Yes, here is where HTTP. Okay, so this is the HTTP module, right? Now, this HTTP module gives us access to a function. If you will search over here, there is a function which is known as create server. Okay, so if you'll see create server. Yep, this is here, right? This is the HTTP create server, right? If you'll go over here, so this is how you can create a server. Okay, so Node.js allows you using this module to create a server, HTTP server. Once I create a server, now I can listen to incoming request. So suppose if somebody comes over here and asks me, give Akshay data to me, right? I can do that. I can do all of it. Okay, so now let me just show you how to use it. So first of all, we will import the module. How do you import the module? Hope you remember this. HTTP is equals to require HTTP. Require require, require, and then over here HTTP. Okay. So we have our HTTP module over here. Now you can, if it is a core module, this is a core module of Node.js. So you can also write node or colon HTTP, or you can directly write HTTP. It is one and the same thing. Okay. So why I am telling you all this? Because if you read it somewhere, don't get afraid. I want my students to know everything. Okay. So you can write node colon HTTP, or you can just write HTTP. It is one and the same thing. Got it? Because it is a native module. All these modules that you see over here in the left hand side, you can just directly access it without using node. Without using node, or you can just use node like this. Okay, so it's if you use this is good convention. It tells people that okay, it's a Node.js core module. But anyways, you would know it, right? Now what I will do, I will create a server, right? http.create server. Okay. So now create server. When you call this method create server on top of it, now this method gives you back a server, right? A instance of a server. Okay. So a instance of a server. I will tell you what is an instance. So basically you can assume that, okay, there is a class and then you create a so basically you create an object, right? You create an object of that class, right? That means it's of that, the type of that object is that class. Okay. So similarly you can create a instance of this server. So when I say a server is equals to http.create server, so basically this http module is creating a server. So now when I say creating a server, that means it is creating an application over here, this application, which can now listen to the request. Okay, which can listen to the request. So right now with this command, I am just creating this server, okay, which is able to listen to the request. Okay, so we have created this server. Now I will have to do server.listen, right? I told you, right? Server.listen. And inside that, I will have to pass the port number on what port I need to call in, right? So the port number can be, what port number do you want to use? Let's use 7777, okay? Because why not? 7 is my lucky number, right? 7 is my date of birth. And Thala for a reason, isn't it? Right? So let's use this port number. You can use anything you want to. You can use 3000, 3001, 4000, 5000, whatever you want to. I am using this port number. Now, when I do this line, now my server is ready to listen to the incoming request. Right? When I do all of it, now when I will run this code, my server is created, my dear friends. That's all the code we need to write to create this server, which can handle millions of requests. Yes, that's all we need to do. We have created a server. Now our application is ready and it can handle multiple requests at a time. Okay, so let's create it. Now, this is how you create it. Now, how to handle the logic? Suppose if somebody is requesting some URL, right? Home page or some data or something, right? So how would you handle that? That we can handle inside a function. Over here, you can create a function, and that function takes two parameters, request and a response. Okay. Now, this means request. This means response. These are two objects, right? These are two objects which have multiple methods and properties that we can use accordingly. But suppose if I am listening to a server, let's create a hello world server. Okay, first of all. So whosoever comes to us, all the users who are coming to our server, I want to just send them a hello world. Okay, that's it. My server will always respond with an hello world. Okay, that is what we can make. Okay, so whosoever is coming to our server, I want to reply to them, right? I want to reply to them with a hello world. Okay, so how do you do that? So for that, I have to create a response. So this response, RES response, and on that response, you have a method which is known as end. Okay, you have a method end. So response.end means I am sending the data back, right? I am sending, this is the end of the response. Okay, so in real world, what happens is in the response, you get some data, you append some data, then in the response, you can do some more things. You can modify the headers, you can modify the body, you can modify whatever you can write some logic. And then at the end, when you want that data to be sent back to the user. So there is a client. Suppose if there is a client who is coming to your server, who is making a connection request to your server, right? So this method will basically close that connection, or basically replies to that request. Okay, replies to that request. So you do this, and inside it you can pass in something. Okay, I'm just passing in plain text. We are on a HTTP protocol, right? We can just send plain text also back. So what is the plain text? What is the plain text? Let's call this as hello world. Got it? So if I reply back with hello world, that's it, right? Now I can actually run this code and create our server. Are you excited? Let me do that, okay? How do you do that? How do you run a Node application? How do you run a Node code? This server.js, you just run node server.js. You hit enter. Now, do you see that? The program is waiting. Why? Why? This application program started and now we have not got back the terminal. My terminal is busy. Why this terminal is busy? This terminal is busy because it is waiting for request to come in. This terminal is busy waiting for request to come in. How can I go and send a request? Can I send? Suppose, see, this is the client. Okay. Let me go to the browser and I myself become a client. Right? I am the client. I want to access over here. Right? So by default, to access this server, I have not hosted it in some other computer or somewhere, right? I have hosted it in the same, see, our Node.js HTTP server is running on the same machine where I have my browser. So I can refer to localhost, right? And I can give it a port number. Where is my application? On 7777. So now I can make a request, and let me just inspect and open the terminal also to show it to you. So I am making a request. If you'll go over here, let me make a request, and if I hit enter over here, so do you see this? Our application returned hello world over here. Right? Our application returned hello world over here. And if you'll see, we have made an HTTP call over here. Do you see this? The request URL is this from the browser, and we have got the data back. Response is hello world. This response is hello world. Where is it coming from? It is coming from here. Got it? So my server basically returned us some result. Isn't it amazing? Now I can close my server like this, right? I can close my server. Now the application will no longer, see, I have closed the application. Now my application will not work, right? It is not working. It is not working. Now, isn't it amazing? Similarly, if you can just deploy this code onto an AWS machine, you can just deploy this code to an AWS machine, and then people can use that IP of that AWS machine and can hit this and get the hello world back. This is the basic first HTTP server that we have created, right? Which can respond to the request. So this is a request. So basically this browser, in the browser, I have done this, right? This is the client browser. It is requesting the server. Now all of this is on the same machine, but don't worry. The architecture followed is same. Now, because we were on localhost, so we did not had to do any DNS mapping or something. We did not make a call to DNS servers or something. But this is how things will work if you deploy your code to AWS servers or somewhere. Now, how do you handle? Suppose if you want some extra data, right? Suppose if you want some extra path, how do you do that, right? Suppose if I do 7777, it is giving me hello world. But suppose if I want to get some secret data, right? Get some secret data, okay? Let's call this as get secret data, okay? If I call this as get secret data, how do you do that? How do you handle these? That okay? How do you handle this request? So let me also give you a small demo. So you can directly say, right? You can just directly say, if you have your request dot URL, okay? If your request is, now I am putting equal to, 3 equal to, right? In your JavaScript, 3 equal to means you are certain sure, right? Basically, read about JavaScript triple equal to, right? In JavaScript, okay? So read about it, strict equality. If you don't know about it, read about it. But a lot of JavaScript developer would already know. But I am just trying to see if my request URL is the same, okay? Let me give it get secret data. So I will send some other response, okay? So if my API is, so basically this is kind of like an API. Now, if my request.url is get secret data, so what I will do a rest.end and I will reply with some message, okay? Let's call this as there is no secret data, okay? Okay, there is no secret data, and let me save my file over here. So just see this code carefully. If my request.url is get secret data, there is no secret data. Otherwise, just send hello world, okay? So let's go back, run this code on server. Let's go back to our browser, refresh the page. So see, hello world we have got, but if I say get secret data over here and hit enter, do you see there is no secret data, right? If you go to the network tab, you will see that the response was there is no secret data. Now you might be thinking that, okay, why it is making an API call to favicon.io? This is the browser thing, my dear friends. This is the Chrome thing. Whenever you make a API call, right, it tries to, if you go to some website, browser tries to load this favicon.io. So don't worry about it. But I actually made a API call of get secret data. I have got there is no secret data. If I go to 7777, it gives me back hello world. Okay, so that's how things are. Now, we have created our server and only just a few lines over here is creating our own HTTP server. Now, I have few things to tell you, right? Before I end this episode, this is what I wanted to cover in this episode. See, whenever you are creating a HTTP server using this HTTP module, it's not the best way. It has a lot of issues with it, right? What are the issues? See, it is kind of like a low level language, right? This is, you will, if you are making a web application using this HTTP module, then it becomes very, very tough. Okay, so we use a wrapper around this HTTP module and we use something known as Express to make our HTTP server. Okay, now what is Express? Let me just show it to you. Express.js, right? So this is the Node.js web application framework. Now you might think, Akshay, what all things are you talking about? But let me tell you, my dear friends, we have something known as Express. Express is a framework which is built on top of Node.js, right? So it's kind of like a wrapper on top of Node.js. Now, most of the time, see, Node.js is very powerful. It is like using JavaScript on servers. But most of the times, whenever we are using Node.js, we are talking about web servers. We are talking about building web applications. This is what we'll study in this course also. And to create our HTTP server, this was just one way. And this is a tough and tedious way of creating a HTTP server. If you try to build a full-fledged big application using this HTTP module and a lot of things, it becomes very tough to handle routing and all. See, this is how you'll have to handle routes, and it becomes very complicated. Sorry, my dear friends. It becomes very, very complicated. Now, to handle that complications, there is something known as Express servers. And most of the people that you will find on the internet along with Node, so Node.js's core uses Express. You might have heard of MERN-Stack, right? Have you heard of MERN-Stack? Right? MERN-Stack. Have you heard of MERN-Stack? Isn't it? You might have heard of MERN-Stack. What is MERN-Stack? React. This is Node. Right? This is Express. And this is MongoDB. right? We know about React. React is for front end. Node.js is the language which we use on server. Express is the framework to create your web server, to create your HTTP server which can handle the incoming request. Okay, so going forward, we will be using Express and not the native node module. Okay, we will not be using the native HTTP node module to create our server, but we will be using Express when we will build our project. That is why I wanted to show you this, and we will talk more about Express when we go and create servers using Express. But it is very easy and it's very amazing, right? And it is, you just see this fast, unopinionated, minimalist web framework for Node.js. So if you are building web applications, then use Express. Okay, so this is what is MERN stack. So we will see how we can make our applications in MERN stack, and we will build a MERN stack application right away in this course itself. We'll build a project. Okay, so this is what we'll do. We will basically build the backend of it. We will use MongoDB, we will use Express, we will use Node.js. This is what we will build. This application we will build using it. React is used for front end. Okay, so this is what we will build. This is what I wanted to show you. Hope you would have understand a lot of jargons, lot of code, lot of things in this video, right? We have seen all this architecture, how things work, and what is a server. Now hope if somebody says server is down, you would understand what does it mean, when to use what server, what is a server hardware, what is a server software, what is a server application. So you hope you would have understood everything. If you liked this video, then please I request you to please share about us on social media, because why not? If you are liking this course, if you are liking Namaste Node.js, if you are liking the efforts by me, then please share a word about us on social media. That will help us reach a lot more people. Tell about Namaste Node.js to your friends, to your family, to your colleagues, to your social media network. Or you can also share the learnings of this episode on social media and tag me along. I would love to read your posts and I would love to see you all studying, right? Do learn in public, right? Do learn in public. Start learning in public. Whenever you study something out of these videos, share a summary of it on social media and also tag me along. It would help me know that you are learning or not. Also, tell me if you have started loving Node.js or not, right? Are you falling in love with Node.js? Please tell me on social media. That is my humble request to you all. Okay, so that's all in this video. We will come again with more videos. We'll talk about Mongo database. We'll talk about creating web servers using Express. We'll talk more about Express. We will build our project. Don't worry, we'll cover everything in this series. Keep watching it, and thank you so much for watching. Wish you the best in your career ahead, and see you soon in the next video. Bye bye for now.